In the spiritual realm, objects appear to be similar to those in the natural world. However, their perception and the underlying significance are fundamentally different due to the nature of spiritual thought and the representation of relationships. Objects in the heavens are declared to be like the objects presented to the senses in the natural world. Externally, there is no difference between them. Angels move about as if through space, approaching and receding from their companions. When at rest, they appear to one another as occupying space. However, there is no actual space surrounding them, nor are there actual bodies, in the natural meaning of the word, changing their position in space. The entire phenomenon of angelic sensory experience is a representative appearance of the relationships of minds to one another and the changes in those relationships. Distances are perceived and thought about purely in terms of the harmonies in the relations of uses. The phenomenal distances in heaven are not like the distances of the natural world. In heaven, they are perceived as states representing the reception of divine life. In the natural state of life, space and distance in space are separated from their spiritual causes. The natural mind, not comprehending the light from heaven, cannot understand how time and space can be projections of thought. It sees nothing of the correspondence between the world of human minds and the changes in outward objects that constitute the events of human life. Outwardly, what is perceived by natural and spiritual states of life as to space and a sensible world is the same. Internally, they are entirely different. This difference arises because the natural mind has matter, space, time and quantity as both subjects and objects of its thinking. In contrast, the spiritual mind has these properties only as objects, not subjects. The subjective states of angelic consciousness constitute the interior causes of every sensuous object presented to angelic awareness. In thinking this way, an angel thinks above space, whereas natural thought, having the same things as both objects and subjects, thinks in space, and thus thinks fallaciously and falsely. The natural mind sinks the subject in the object and reverses the order of influx by attributing to sensations causes external to the mind that perceives them. The spiritual mind has an intuitive perception of the spiritual or mental causes of the objects before it that the natural mind does not. Spiritual thought perceives their signification in the same way as a person understands the meaning of articulate sounds when hearing a familiar language. The mind, when given to a natural mode of thinking, on the other hand, sees sensuous objects as it hears the words of an unfamiliar language. Not understanding their meaning, it rests in the mere sounds. Not knowing the correspondence between the sounds and the thoughts of the speaker, it thinks in the sounds themselves and not above them. In heaven, objects appear similar to those in the natural world, but their perception is deeply influenced by the spiritual state of the observer. While natural perception relies on the external characteristics of space and matter, spiritual perception focuses on the internal causes and relationships, leading to a fundamentally different understanding of reality.